He's gay, but he has a special connection to classical music. There's many things that are interesting about him.
Right there, and welcome back everyone. Now, as you may have guessed from the title, today I'm talking about the new Yorgos Lanthimos film, Poor Things. Now, if you're not familiar with Lanthimos' filmography, let's just say he's got a particular style to his work. Seriously, this guy needs an immediate mental evaluation. My mind has been permanently
Tough time never lasts. Only tough people last.
All jokes aside, there's no denying that he is an incredibly talented filmmaker, and I've actually really enjoyed every other one of his films that I've seen. But let me tell you, this is the absolute strangest, most uncomfortable to watch and utterly bizarre film I have ever seen. I guarantee you will never have seen anything like it. You thought Saltburn was going to be the weirdest film of the year? Nope. Think again. This film makes Saltburn look like Coronation Street. Now, you may have seen that Poor Things is cleaning up this awards season. It's already won Best Picture and Best Actress at the Golden Globes, and most likely it's going to squad wipe the Oscars. However, before we get to that point, I feel it's my duty to ask the question, just because a film is weird, does that actually make it a good film? Well, in this video, I'm going to do my absolute best to answer that question, as well as giving you my overall thoughts on the film along the way. And so, without further ado, let's get into it. It's hard to say who this film is really aimed at as an audience. Outside of people who go to film festivals and potentially sex pests, I can't really think of an actual demographic that would be interested in watching this film. For those who haven't seen it, let me just give you a brief synopsis so you can see where I'm coming from. The film is about a woman who throws herself off a bridge, strong start. Her body is discovered by an unorthodox doctor who brings it back to his house and finds out that the lady was in fact pregnant. And so, the good doctor does what anyone would do in this situation and puts the baby's brain inside the mother's head and then brings her back to life, leaving us with a fully grown woman but with the mental capacity of a newborn.
What?
You see what I mean? That's like 90% of the potential viewers gone. Children? Out of the question. Old people? They probably wouldn't come out of the cinema alive. It feels like one of Yorgos Lanthimos' mates asked him one of those really messed up questions like, "Oi mate, if you got paid £1,000, would you shag the fittest girl in the world but she had the brain of a baby?" And he was like, "Alright, bet, I'm gonna make a 2.5-hour film about that." Of course I am joking. This film is actually based off the novel of the same name by Alistair Gray, but I know you all laughed, be honest. Anyways, that's how the film starts. We follow this woman, Bella Baxter, played by Emma Stone, who lives at home with the doctor who created her, Godwin Baxter, played by Willem Dafoe. As the story progresses, so too does Bella as she ages and becomes more aware of the world around her. Eventually, Bella becomes tired of being confined to Godwin's house and is hungry to see the world and explore the unknown. And so, she sneaks off with a slick but debauched lawyer named Duncan Wedderburn, played by Mark Ruffalo, on an adventure across the world. Now, as you might imagine, there's a lot going on in this film. Since all Bella knows is essentially what Godwin has allowed her to know, she has no concept of what life really is like and what it entails. She doesn't understand polite society, and she's free of the prejudices that us regular folk can't escape. And for me, that makes a really interesting idea to explore, to see how a person would develop and what beliefs and values they form when starting from an absolute clean slate but with the body of an adult. However, was the way they explored this in this film quite what I was expecting? Absolutely not. But was it still interesting? I'm gonna say yes, albeit totally bizarre in every conceivable way. I still found Bella's character arc to be somewhat satisfying. It also resulted in some very funny moments where I actually found myself laughing out loud, which seemed so improbable at the time given what I'd just seen 5 minutes before that had likely traumatized me. Now, a very significant, and to be honest, probably the main theme of Bella's development and the film in general really, was sex. And understandably so. I mean, if you found yourself in an adult body with no preconceptions of sexuality or monogamy, and then all of a sudden discovered this incredible new feeling, and was surrounded by people offering you the ability to experience this feeling over and over, you'd snap their hand off. And well, that's exactly what Bella does, and we get to see it all very graphically. In her words, she says, "I don't understand why people don't just do this all day." However, as justified as it all may be, it was just too much for me.
I've got nothing left.
Now, before you all call me a prude, you have to remember one thing. I am a British man, and therefore I'm extremely emotionally stunted. I mean, I can barely say the word sex without wincing. All I'm saying is, if you're gonna watch this film with someone, make sure you two are very comfortable with each other. You have been warned. Having said that, there was actually a lot I did like about the film. One of those things was the acting. Before watching this film, I knew Emma Stone was a good actor, a great actor even, but this performance just elevates her to a new tier in my opinion. She was exceptional. If she doesn't at least get nominated for the Academy Awards, I'll be amazed. Willem Dafoe does what Willem Dafoe does and is brilliant as Godwin Baxter, but actually the standout for me was Mark Ruffalo. This role was so unlike anything we've ever seen from him and he absolutely smashed it for me. I'd heard a story that during filming, Ruffalo wasn't particularly confident in his performance and he believed he was going to be replaced by Oscar Isaac, who was also at the studio at the time working on another project. After watching the film though, I can't believe that's how he felt. He was undoubtedly the funniest character in the film, and I also think he had the best character arc. Watching him go from this full of himself, classy lawyer to the complete wreck he is at the end of the film is just brilliant. I think what's so appealing about a role in a film like this is that the characters they're playing really are characters. It's not just a role where they can turn up, read their lines, get angry here and there, and maybe shed a tear. They really have to act, and I think that's something missing in modern films. There's a really interesting quote from Mark Ruffalo where he says, "I was trying to take the ship as close to the reef as I possibly could without actually running aground. There's a daringness in this that I normally wouldn't have. I was just like, if I go down in a flaming disastrous performance, I don't really give a shit, but I think this was the best time I've ever had on a movie." Another thing I liked about the film, and probably the best thing about it, was how it looked. The film was absolutely stunning. The film was an incredibly surreal experience, and this surrealism is carried across perfectly by the style of the film. Anything you could possibly think of that fits into the category of cinematography was different in this film. The first sequences where Bella is living at Godwin's house is all shot in black and white, but when she escapes and goes on her adventure, everywhere she visits is just so bright and vibrant and the colours are incredible. I think that's such a clever way to show how Bella's entire view of the world is changing, as everything she sees when she escapes is new and exciting, and that's mimicked by the transition from black and white to colour.
Boy, ain't no fucking way, boy.
The places themselves also looked amazing. Each location was depicted as almost a capsule or a snow globe of that place. Just a few buildings on an island almost, with a huge sky that looks so close you could almost touch it. The backdrops are also all hand painted, which gives the film a sort of old Hollywood theatrical sort of feel. I also love the use of the fisheye effect to make the whole world look distorted, as if we were looking at the film through a telescope. And finally, the character designs were brilliant. Apparently it took 4 to 6 hours every day to apply Willem Dafoe's makeup, but it was so worth it. If you imagined a mad doctor reanimating dead bodies, you probably would be all scarred up and just generally difficult to look at. There must be hundreds of different small details and references I didn't catch in the film. If there are any particularly interesting ones you saw, comment them down below. I'd love to know what else I missed. And so, after all that, I probably should try and answer the question I set out at the start of the video. And for me, even after everything I've just said, my answer is no. It was just too weird for me. I really did like a lot about it, but after 2.5 hours, it just starts to take a toll and just detract from my enjoyment of the film. Yorgos Lanthimos is the king of the uncomfortable watch, and this film is no exception. This is not a film you can just chuck on and relax to, but to be honest, that's not the point of the film. It's a real film lover's film. I would recommend you watch it just to experience it for yourself, but I cannot say that I enjoyed it. But I'm sure a lot of people will disagree with me, and so I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments down below. And with that, we've reached the end of the video. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, be sure to leave a like and hit the subscribe button. And why not check out this other video I made, where I talk about the evolution of Willy Wonka.